Welcome to 2018. This is the first episode of the Any Spartan show for the year. On this show, Josh, Sandy, and I chat about the races that are coming up, the races that have been, and a little bit about our predictions, what we think is going to happen in the coming calendar year. Enjoy the show! What episode are we on, Josh?
We are on episode 68.
Yes, we are. Nicely
Crushed
done.
it.
68 question mark.
I have the page up. We are definitely on episode 68.
Crushed it.
Yeah, and it's the first of our episodes of 2018, but it might not be the first time you've heard our voices in 2018 because we were on another podcast last week.
Yes.
So
Thank you, and a shout out to Mike Stefano for having us on his show, where we talked about the history of the Spartans and how we all came about to be and whatnot.
You can find on our Facebook page, we have a link to it. He has recently changed the name of his podcast or the branding, so he doesn't have a Facebook presence for the new branding. But he used to be the M. Stefano Running Podcast. He's now the Obstacle Running Adventures Podcast. And we were episode 55. We talked about our history and race local and a whole bunch of other stuff. It was pretty cool. So thanks.
Yeah, he runs a tight ship. He was far more organized and set up than we typically are before we
At one
hit
point,
record.
I strongly suspected he actually had notes.
I think he was actually reading notes as we went
That's
along.
shocking.
So.
That's almost like cheating.
Preparation.
The best content comes from no preparation, honestly.
So this is our first official 2018 episode. It's on the eve of Blizzard Blast.
Woohoo!
It is, what are we at, January 25th? So if you're listening when this is first published, Blizzard Blast is in a few days. If you are listening somewhere down the line, Blizzard Blast was awesome. Who's going? I'm going to be there, but I am not running because I just had a large piece of tattoo work done, so I want to look after that. But I will be going. I'll be spectating. I'll bring some team gear along. How about you guys?
I will be there, and I will be running multiple laps. First lap out, and then look for us in our onesies for multiple laps after that. If you see Tigger, that'll be me.
All right, I was just going to ask what your onesie is
going to be. Unless somebody else steals him.
Hopefully it isn't 65 degrees this time.
What else would I ever be?
Hopefully it's not 65 degrees this year.
No.
That sucks.
I am pleased to say that the chance of rain has gone, the percentage is going down and down and down and down, which is good because for a while they were expecting it to rain on Sunday and be mid-50s, which could just be a nice, soggy, nasty mess.
The very
Blizzard ones, winter ones are no fun in the rain.
No.
Summer ones, sure, great.
How many? They're not going to have any snow, I assume, this time, are they?
Well, I don't think so because of the weather that we've had just recently. It's been super cold, and so therefore there is a lot of ice and such on the ground. But with the rain that we had shortly ago, a lot of the snow melted. So it all depends on how deep it was and where on the course and this and that. So I'm sure there will be some, but not a ton.
If it's anything like here, there'll be some icy piles here and there, but mostly it'll be open.
Yeah.
What, now the third year in a row they've lacked snow? Not obviously of their fault, but just bad luck.
New England.
Well, it's all Fred's fault. He did it that one year and had so much of it that he used up all of his juju.
All of his snow karma.
All of his snow karma used up in 1 year, and so now he's got to build it back up.
Well, I remember the first year we did the onesies, and it was, 65 degrees?
55 or 60 degrees or something, and people were dying.
We all had our onesies stripped down to our waists and rolled around our waists. It was just so ridiculously hot. And the onesie I'd chosen was a dragon onesie that had the crotch down below the knees, and running with that stupid thing on, and then trying to get over walls when I couldn't do anything. That was horrible. That was a terrible choice. I'm not doing that again until next time.
Yeah. Tigger split in the very first wall last year and the year before. So every year I just resew it and
Do it
Start
again. And you're not coming, are you, Josh? It's too cold for you, isn't it, there. Josh?
No. Well, all right. So let me put this out there. I did something last weekend that both you two and our very modest audience hopefully should be proud of.
What's that?
So for Christmas time, Molly bought me a bunch of winter gear.
Yep.
Her parents bought me a bunch of winter gear. Super generous. I have winter hiking boots. I have mini spikes. I have a shell for pants. I have a puffy jacket. I am literally fully equipped to do everything in the wintertime. We went hiking up Mount Monadnock last weekend in the snow.
Wow.
So, that's pretty good.
Consider my what's the Obi-Wan quote? My first step into a larger world.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Out the front door in the cold.
Right. And now, of course, I had such a good time and want to go again, and now it's going to be like 50 degrees this weekend. So,
in his puffy coat, Josh actually looks normal sized. Is it flesh colored?
It's not.
Darn.
No, I think I'm spending the weekend getting a long run in because I haven't had a long run in a good long time, and getting some rock climbing in maybe tomorrow night. A little bit of everything.
Well, I'm going to come along and bring some Race Local stuff. If you haven't registered for Race Local, get registered before Blizzard Blast because I'll throw a free pair of sunglasses at you. I'll be there with them. I'll mail anyone who signs up afterwards. And it should be a good time.
I should get on that.
You should.
I should.
And then the weekend, 2 weekends after? 1 weekend after?
No, 1 weekend.
One weekend after is Polar Bear Challenge up at Shale Hill. I will be running that because my tattoo should have healed enough by then. But Rob has changed the layout of the course.
Which means I'll no longer be able to do it in my sleep. So
no, it's going to be confusing.
I'm very curious to see how this is going to go.
I've heard that he now has downhill monkey bars.
Yeah.
But that's all I've heard.
Which is interesting because do you go downhill and then turn around and go uphill? Because surely he didn't take the uphill ones out completely, but
I don't know.
It's Rob, so there's no telling what he's come up with.
There is enough trail out there that I've explored on a quad when I was injured, that there's plenty of trail there that isn't in use on the course already.
Yes.
So there's plenty of places to go with new ground if he needs to.
He has a lot of space out there, which is nice. So, Polar Bear is going to be a lot of fun, and let's spend just a second real quick. So Blizzard Blast there is an elite heat.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple laps for those people who choose to do multi-laps. So if you're hearing this before Blizzard Blast and you go, oh man, I only signed up for one, you can sign up for multi-lap on site day of for $25 cash, and then run as many extra laps as you wish. Blizzard Blast is not one of those things with penalties, so it's for fun, it's for having a good time. I'm not entirely positive how he runs his elites. I don't know if you guys know whether or not, there's a penalty or mandatory completion or whatnot, but for the most part, it's a fun, good beginning to the year, pretty laid back, etc. And then Polar Bear can be the same thing, or it can be way more competitive because it's a much harder course by far. For those of you who have never been to Shale Hill, Polar Bear's Rob's annual 8-hour race, as many laps as you can do. A lot of people go and just do one.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get really hung up on the 8-hour thing, but you can go and do one very slow, fun 5-hour lap and eat bacon.
All the bacon you can eat.
Yes.
It's a full buffet for morning and afternoon. But the bacon is consistent, but everything else is breakfast in the morning and lunch stuffs in the afternoon. But we hollered so much the one year that they took the bacon away after breakfast that now they do bacon all day long.
That was our only complaint of the whole event. The bacon disappeared.
Better.
Doesn't he know us? What the hell?
Well, he does now, that's for sure.
Now.
So that's going to be interesting. But his race, unless you specifically sign up for Journeyman, it does have penalties and it does have things that you have to do. And he's implementing a new thing this year.
Yes, this is going to be interesting.
And I'm curious to see how it's going to go. So if you get to an obstacle, let's say you run and you're past the first 5 obstacles and you get to number 6 and you can't get past number 6. You have to run backwards to number 5, do it again, then go again to number 6. Now, does that create an infinite loop of I couldn't get through it the first time, so I had to go back to 5, and you spend all your time running 5 and 6? I doubt it, but I'm curious to hear how he says, I'm sure you just go on.
I believe he said there's a 3 attempt and move on.
Okay.
I believe
I don't remember ever.
That, so good.
I don't remember ever hearing the 3 attempt because I remember asking them for clarification on the Facebook page, but I said, if you go back to, we'll use the same example. So if you fail 6, you go back to 5, you complete 5. The way I assumed it is you were going past 6 at that point.
And run on to 7.
You never know. Sure.
We'll get him on.
But then if you fail 7,
we'll get him on. Not today, but
then you got to go back to 5.
You have to go all the way back to 5. You have to go back to the last obstacle that you successfully completed. Mm-hmm. So the penalty will be used up in running and just time on course, basically. But which I think is a really curious way to do it.
Yes.
And of course, everybody says, well, that's easy to cheat. Well, the other ways are easy to cheat too. And there's always people that are going to be dishonest jerks who are going to mess up. And Rob seems to have an issue, unfortunately, with people who want a podium at his races who don't necessarily do so honorably.
Yeah.
And what do you do about that as a race director?
Nothing.
I mean, really and truly, how do you solve that unless you have enough volunteers to be at every obstacle throughout the entire 8-hour period?
And how long is Shale Hill in terms of distance?
10K usually. But this new course, we don't know.
Yeah, the course used to be 6.5 miles.
Yeah.
So with the new course, it depends on how much he's wrung out of it.
And some of the areas are pretty remote, and if you're running alone, you can be alone for some significant stretches of time.
Yes.
So it's not like you're running along, next to a highway a lot or anything like that. It's pretty quiet. But I mean, I think that's the case everywhere. But when you go to a Spartan, there's so many people around, it's harder to fly under the radar. But when you're in the middle of the woods and the only person out there is yourself and your own integrity, I think some people just make the decision they make, and it's not always a good one. But your course times don't lie. Rob has an extremely good handle on how long it takes people to do lap after lap at a course, especially the fast guys. And when he sees somebody coming in on their 4th lap 10 minutes quicker than they did their 2nd lap, yeah, it's a pretty good indication that they didn't do everything they should have been doing on their 4th lap. And he can figure that out. But if you're listening to this and you're thinking, holy shit, Journeyman. Journeyman means you can run your own race, you can do your own obstacles or not, and you finish the course and you're happy you finished the course. As we said, it's the 10K course. There used to be a 5K distance. I assume there's still an option for that. And then we would always or frequently make up our own special K distance.
Yes, we did.
We knew the fields and the course well enough that sometimes we'd take a little shortcut here and there, and we'd come in and we'd have clocked, 6.5K. It's special K. It's fine.
So depending on your inability to complete obstacles, your 10K course could easily turn into a 20K course.
It can indeed. Yeah. So I'm looking
forward to that. Now, some of the obstacles no one's going to fail.
Oh, yeah.
There are some obstacles that you're just not going to fail, period.
Yep.
So what are, and I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, Sandy, I assume he has carries in his course,
Several.
Right?
He has in the past, yes.
So
one was a double log carry that was miserable.
The Nutcracker.
What comes after that, do you know?
Half-mile course, the Tyrolean Traverse.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, is that the one that goes over water?
Yep.
Yes, but unless the water is frozen solid, he will not allow that one to be open. Mm-hmm. He checks the depth. He makes sure that it is solid. And if there's any chance that somebody could fall off and go through the ice, he closes it completely. But usually by February in the winter, it's, a good 2 feet deep ice, which is completely safe. If he can drive his truck on it, you can go across and not have to worry about it.
He has another log carry. He has a bucket carry. The bucket carry recently turned into a wheelbarrow.
It's wheelbarrows now.
Yeah, the wheelbarrow, which is, those are nuts.
If anybody is coming to this please keep in mind that the wheelbarrow handles are
Cold.
steel. And they have been out in the, X number of degree weather. I know that last year that one took me so incredibly long because I could only go 5 or 10 feet before my hands were so frozen felt like I was getting hit with hammers.
I like that obstacle.
You need grippy, warm gloves for that one. Unless
that one.
you have good circulation, in which case, can I have it, please?
Fire away.
So I'm going to be there, hopefully running. I know you're going to be there, Sandy.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be with my kids, so I'll be happy with one lap and him not getting in trouble somewhere. It should be fun.
So Rob at Polar Bear put up a thing not too long ago saying that you could get a percentage off, 5% off your admission rate for every polar bear medal you were able to show.
Oh,
and that brought up an interesting thing. And I think I am one of only maybe 2 or 3 people that have all 5.
Yep, I missed one.
You missed one. Amy Lillis missed one. Bill and Karen Bill has all 5, but Karen does not. She didn't do the first one.
What about Steve Beckworth?
So it might just be Bill and I. We may be the only 2 people who have done all 5. Now, he does it competitively. I do journeyman. So he's all that and a ton of bricks, where I'm just out having a ball.
I was so mad that one year I didn't make it. I was sitting in an airport in North Carolina or somewhere, stuck.
Yes.
Snow, couldn't get back in. Bastards.
Still pissed about it 4 years later.
I am. 2 years later? 1 year later?
I know.
I'm still
I was exaggerating. For effect.
So what else is going on? Those are the next 2 races. So we,
Those are.
as I'm sure you can imagine, Shale Hill will be part of Race Local. We've mentioned it twice now, but for those who don't know, but Race Local 2018 is open. Sean Martin is the chair of Race Local this year, so he is leading the charge. He's got everything up. Medals are on order. People are piling in. It's looking good.
Blizzard Blast is also part of Race
Blizzard
Local.
Blast is also, if you did pursue events early this year, that is also part of Race Local. And if you have kids who did pursue events, they can also jump in Race Local, and they can also earn some sweet swag. So Race Local is moving. That is kicking off. I'm looking forward to that this year, primarily because Sean's going to do all the heavy lifting for me.
So you can just race and enjoy it and not have to deal with all the logistics.
Yes. Well, I mean,
not deal with as many logistics.
I can't just dump it all on him, because I think he's found out very quickly there's an awful lot that happens that nobody ever sees. But it's nice to be able to say, "Hey, Sean, can you reach out to these guys?" And off he goes, and he makes it happen, and it saves me a lot of effort. So I'm very, very happy he's here.
I think he was a little bit surprised.
I think yes.
He was like, "Oh, I didn't realize what I was signing up for."
No, it's good, but it's moving. It's open. Registration's there. It's if you don't know, it's $35 for the whole year, and the more local branded OCRs that are on our page that you run, the more swag we'll send you. Don't ask me what that swag is, because we've ordered medals. Everything else will be figured out in due course. We're having those conversations now, but it is moving. Near behind Polar Bear is also Winter Dash. Boulder Dash is winter race. That is also Race Local. So it's moving along. Now, what else has been going on? Let's talk about some of the big boys, because that's the local scene. But Tough Mudder and Spartan are getting their 2018 seasons moving in some odd ways, I think, in some cases. So Tough Mudder now have a grail.
A legit grail.
Supposedly.
Yes. We've seen a digital mock-up.
So the email went out, and people were very quick to point out that at the bottom it says you get a t-shirt and a digital badge. But then I guess the email said more that there would be an actual grail this time, at which point everybody was like, yay, but pointy edges, and how do you drink out of that? So
the digital mock-up looked a little impractical.
People.
It looked a little impractical.
Although,
it did look a little impractical, yes.
I feel like they did deserve at least a little bit of flack for their first attempt at the Grail.
Agreed. Which, if you don't know, was a pint glass.
Yeah, it was just a clear plastic or a clear glass mug.
No, it was glass, and it's actually very, very nice as the proud owner of one, and it comes with a free refill at any race this entire year.
So now you've got to carry a glass mug around.
Yeah. Well, somebody else will get my free beer because I don't drink that. It's nasty stuff. Blah.
Great for the spouses of Grail owners who don't drink.
So what else? What has Spartan been up to? Because they've put out several releases recently.
Yeah, Spartan's probably been the busiest of the bunch. So they we'll do the easiest one first. So a couple days ago, they spread on social media and Instagram and everything else that they had a big announcement coming for 124.
Are you ready for the big announcement? That's what they said.
They can hardly contain themselves. And that announcement was that they are taking the Spartan World Championships back to Lake Tahoe in California for the fourth straight year. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's January, right? It's not. Yes. Spartan season literally kicks off this week, so they've had more than a month of no events, really. Mm-hmm. So they kicked that off. I will say there's a few things that I am looking forward to of them. So they've got Greek Peak coming up in March, which is their winter sprint race, and they late last year were teasing the possibility of a winter super, but that could have been an overseas thing, so not sure if it's ever going to show up in the States. So they've got some pretty sweet winter Spartan race medals that they're going to be giving out for Greek Peak in March. They also are revamping their finisher shirts, and they have moved to Techwick finisher shirts this year as opposed to typical polyester cotton.
I think last year's Greek Peak finisher shirts were a bit of a flop.
They're nice shirts.
If you got one.
Right, they just didn't have many of them, I guess, at the finish line. So
they better fix that. And I'll also say, talking about winter medals, have you seen last year's Polar Bear Challenge medal?
I have not.
It's pretty sweet.
It is.
You should come and get one.
Is there a polar bear on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
An angry looking one.
Yeah. Sullied.
You should come. So should everyone who's looking at Greek Peak, because if you want to go to Greek Peak and drive, 5-6 hours from Boston to do a winter race, Vermont is half that distance.
It's true.
But it's too far.
I pledged to get Josh over to Shale Hill.
Good.
This year. He was supposed to come for Polar Bear.
Mm-hmm. 2018 will be the year of Shale Hill for me, I promise. I'll add that to my goals.
We'll hold you to it too. We'll just tease you mercilessly on every episode until our audience is so pissed off at listening to it, they make you go.
Does it work that way?
No.
I mean, it hasn't stopped you so far. So
no, it hasn't. You're right.
Well, you haven't gone yet.
That's true.
So, and then next up in the bevy of Spartan announcements. So, late last year, that was probably November when they started selling their season passes. So Spartan put out their open wave season pass, $750. I think their limit was 1,000 people, and sold out, completely gone. People obviously had concerns about the price, and the elite season pass is still available. That's $1,000. And then they offered a trifecta pass, which started at $249 for any three, trifecta style races: sprint, super, and beast. That's now up to $325. So they had the gap: trifecta pass at $325, elite season pass at $1,000. They decided last week, they announced they're selling a six-pack race pass. And that is any 6 races valid for the calendar year of 2018 for $599. And with that, you get free bag check at the events, free spectator pass at the event. Now, that is only available for open wave. But there is the availability to upgrade if you want to compete in their new age group category or elite. You just pay the difference in order to upgrade.
At each individual race that you choose to do so?
Right. And the 6-pack race pass is not specific distance-wise. So the trifecta pass is a sprint, a super, and a beast. The 6-pack race pass is any distance times 6. So if you wanted to do 6 beasts, you can do that. And if you want to do 6 sprints, you can do that. Chances are you're probably wasting money if you're going to do that.
Yep.
But 6 beasts at $100 a piece.
6 beasts at $100 a piece. That is one, a
Is a
mouthful
deal.
to say, and two, a very good deal. So I mean, as much as people have complained about the prices going up and these exorbitant fees and this, that, and the other thing, if you're savvy enough to do it, there are plenty of ways to affordably race and race at a much better price than registering 2 weeks before your event. And not for nothing, if you register 2 weeks before any big name event, you deserve to pay more than everybody else. Maybe not deserve, but that's what you get for not planning. Maybe that's what you get for not planning ahead.
Yeah, well, you do. Let's keep in mind though that some people can't plan ahead because of work schedules and such, whose bosses are not so OCR inclined.
Well, I think Spartan have also kind of put themselves in a position to get this criticism because they undervalued or underpriced themselves for a long time. The 1 year I bought a season pass, which was as many races as I could possibly get to, I paid less than the 6 race pass now. And I could have gone to any race. I mean, I ended up using it in New England, and it's the 1 year I went to a stadium race down in New York. But yeah, I mean, for years they were charging a lot less. And if they're now coming to the realization that they have to charge more to afford to keep putting on this show, because they're not giving more. Then you don't get more now than you did 3 years ago. There's not enough has changed.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that's the case, right? So if you bought a season pass in, 2013 or something?
Yeah, 13 or 14.
So you think about within, even call it 12 hours, right? Within a 12-hour drive, how many races were you going to in that case?
Oh, so
6, 7?
I bought the season pass knowing I was going to both days at the Beast, the Super, the Sprint, Fenway, and I did 1 day down in New York. So that would have been 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 races.
No, it's 11.
Yeah, 11 then. Sure,
that's why we have Sandy for the math.
For counting with fingers and stuff.
To count as he went along.
Right. And then, if you look at, what you get for that now, again, if you're racing elite, that's one thing, right? You're going to pay $1,000.
Sure.
Fine, I get that. But if you got in for the open season pass and you take the 12-hour drive distance, right? I have the map pulled up in front of me. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I'm not even going to count, but there's easily 20 races I can get to within. And those are
I get that, but
multi-day races and trifecta weekends. So sure, you're paying more, but you are getting access to a hell of a lot more races. And I think it sounds extremely simple when you explain it that way, but for some reason, a lot of people miss the point of that.
Because I don't think people don't think about how many they could go to. They only think about the ones they do go to. So
right.
If you compare what race experience you get out of an event now to 13, 14 season, you don't get more out of it. The course hasn't changed. The obstacles haven't really changed. You still get a T-shirt. You still get a medal. You still get a beer. You still get muddy. You still get to jump over a fire pit. So when you look at it, what you get out of the races you do, people don't look at it at the potential. And I get it, right? I understand that they can't give season passes for $400. That's totally reasonable. But my point is that they've kind of put themselves in this position to get the criticism by undervaluing that for so long. So now people see, well, I got one for $400 a few years ago. Why the hell am I paying $1,000 now? I'm not getting anything for it. Well, you're getting a brand that can actually afford to put on the damn races.
Right. And I would say probably, I'm going to go out and venture a guess and say everybody that buys a season pass probably gets their money's worth. If you think about how many races they do. I mean, hell, they had a guy last year finish with a 25x trifecta. Yeah. I think there are plenty of ways to get your money's worth for that. And there's also, now with the 6 race pass, there's plenty of ways to not spend $1,000 on a season pass. There's plenty of other races to go to. So it's, if you're unhappy, the one thing you can do is speak with your wallet. So if you don't want to go to a Spartan race because you feel completely put off by how much they're charging, you don't have to go.
Nope. Go. That's why I didn't buy any more season passes. I think the next year it went up to $600 and it's gone up since then. And I was like, screw that.
And to be honest, it'll continue to go up, right? The elite season pass is $1,000 this year. I don't doubt it's going to go to $1,049 next year. And they're going to go till they hit that breaking point. Until they stop selling out, guess what? They can keep up in the price because people keep buying it. It's simple supply and demand.
Yep. So
thank you, Professor Josh.
Yeah, I do what I spent the last week listening to everybody complain in the various social media outlets about how they're sick of price increases and da 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 da. And it's the ultimate in first world problems in our cases. And not to be left out, we talk Spartan, we talk Tough Mudder. Our friends at Savage Race had an announcement this week as well.
Oh, that's right.
Sam and team decided that Savage Race was going to open up. They were calling it the Savage Blitz, and they had teased it a few days before. And me personally, I was expecting a Tough Mudder X short course, like short packed with obstacles style, like sprintish type race. But what the Blitz is essentially is a 3-mile version of Savage Race. They're going to start in 4 locations, Maryland, Charlotte, Ohio, and Chicago, and just open up their race to folks that maybe were turned off by that 7 to 9 mile format that Savage is originally. So this gives folks essentially 2 different options now to race Savage, and both of those race distances count towards that Savage Syndicate medal, that big giant spinny medal. So, I already saw some of the folks in our group at least asking, can I do a blitz and a full race on the same day and get that medal? And they certainly can. And they're going to have to travel a little bit to get it from where we are. But
it's not in New England.
Yep.
No, but Maryland's not that far.
No, Maryland's not far. And one thing I did notice too is they are, at least again, just this year, they're only doing it on Sundays. So It'll be big race on Saturday. I don't know if they're going to do the big race on Saturday and the Blitz, but so short course or shorter course on Sundays for Savage.
Well, if he said they could do both on the same day, they would have to both be offered on the same day. Either that or didn't think of that when answering the question.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him posting else in another group, another community group, and one of the things he said there was that this was very much an experiment for them. They didn't want to go and try and do this everywhere. They didn't want to bite off more than they could chew. And it's a format they're going to play around with and develop because they want to do it right. They want to offer this multiple distance. They want to offer this short course format, but they don't want to, screw the main brand in the process and dilute what their Savage experience is. Because I don't think their intention is for, your average everyday Joe to suddenly show up and start running both races just to get big medals and clogging the course. I think that their goal is to have a viable second option for a different group than the main crowd going around twice, right? I think that's their goal.
Probably.
So
kind of along the lines of Tough Mudder and their Tough Mudder half option, which is always a good thing. And I really respect the way they're doing things because they're very careful about, being clear. This is what our goal is. This is what we're trying to accomplish. We don't want to overextend ourselves and put on something that's not going to be worthwhile. We want to make sure that we're doing things right. And a company that's willing to stand by that is, I think, is great.
Yeah, agreed. They do a good job.
Yeah, that was my favorite race of 2017 for sure. So I look forward to getting my hands on another Savage race.
So we're right at the beginning of 2018. We've talked about what's already happened in 2018. So let's stick our necks out and make some predictions about what we think will happen in 2018. So what's on the radar for the rest of the year in the whole OCR industry? Who's going to be the winners, the losers? What's going to go wrong? What's going to go right in 2018? So I'll go first. I've done these before, but I don't have any massive predictions, like nothing earth-shattering this year, but I'm going to stick my neck out and say Spartan's going to be a bit of a lost ship this year. They've very quietly separated from Reebok. I think everybody knows that. I've seen rumors that they're going to have a new partner in the near future. They're going to have a new, either, I don't know if it's going to be a title partner like Reebok was or just some more sponsors, but they need sponsors to make their brand run. So I think they're going to start bringing on some odd or unusual sponsors that we may not expect. We've already seen that we talked before we hit record about this whole picture frame thing that popped up. They promoted some company that is going to, you buy a 150, I don't know what the exact numbers were, but it was like 150 or 200 or $225 picture frame. And when you were finished, they put your medal and a picture in it. And you got a free Sprint, Super, or Beast, depending on which one you bought. So obviously this is some kind of brand deal, and I think we're going to see them do more of those this year. They've done some odd ones in the past. Was it last year? They had one that did a 3D model and would mail you a little 3D print of yourself.
Can I just tell you, I am super disappointed I did not attend a race where that company, the company's called Solidify. I think it's Solidify. Legit, I would do it in a heartbeat. In an absolute heartbeat. Absolutely. I would get one of those made.
But that's not the kind of sponsorship deal that would make their brand go. They need 100 of those kind of sponsorship deals to make their brand run, right?
Right.
So I think we're going to see them throw some weird shit at the wall over the next year. Either that or someone like Innovate's going to be their shoe sponsor, and they'll carry on and have a shoe sponsor, and they'll find a clothing sponsor, and it'll just be a weird mishmash of Spartan branding.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because you look at what they did the latter half of last year. They had so many little sponsorship, partnerships that kind of rolled out through the year, and and that could have just been a bargaining chip with Reebok. Like in the Boston Globe or Boston Magazine, there was a great article about Joe DeSena and the company, and in that article, they were talking about renewing the Reebok partnership at the cost of about $15 million. So,
wow.
You never know. It could have just been Spartan saying, hey, look, we've got all these suitors lined up. Why wouldn't you want to be on board? And
Reebok has their own issues. I mean, $50 million for them right now is a big chunk of change.
Right. And what's funny is, have you ever in any other sport, in any other line of business, seen so many people who care about a sponsor of a company that they're interested in? I don't know why it's so such a big thing.
You know what it is? I think that in 5 years ago when Reebok sponsored Spartan, my understanding is the amount of money involved was pittance, right? It wasn't a lot of money back then, but it was a big brand. It was a household brand backing this little weird race thing we did on weekends that no one really knew what it was. I mean, this was 2012, I think, 2013. No one really knew who the hell Spartan was. If you said, I did Spartan races, you get a funny look. But Reebok was sponsoring them. Reebok was the brand behind them. So people got really invested in the Spartan brand because a big company was willing to get behind them, build all this gear for them, the shoes, develop a shoe line, and whether you like the Reebok shoes or not, the fact that they were willing to develop an entire shoe line around the sport and around the brand is pretty big. And now they're going away, and what's going to be left? We're going to get some funky colored Innovates, maybe? I mean, Innovate aren't going to build a Spartan shoe necessarily. Why would they? They've got a ton of shoes that work for it already.
No, and all the buzz that everybody's talking about is that Spartan and Ultra have
that's the other
impending agreement.
Yeah.
So
I heard it was Ultra as well. That was the other one. Which Ultra don't make OCR shoes at all. They make very, very padded trail and road shoes.
So it'll be an interesting year for them. I mean, they've got a new championship kind of qualification set up. They've got the age group ready to go. They just announced. They got Tahoe again. They just announced today they've got a Stadium Series championship for folks that travel the Stadium Series event.
Okay, so help me out on that one. Didn't they already have that? I'm sure they've done Stadium Championships before.
I'm pretty sure they had something like it. So I couldn't tell you, to be honest. They have so many plates in the air that it's hard to keep. I mean, I still couldn't figure out how to qualify for the World Championships. So it's
you get on a plane and go to the UK is how you qualify for the World Championships.
True, very true.
And totally aside, did you see Tough Mudder's advertisement this last day or two? They put up a banner at a race that someone photographed. It said, "So we know you're really good at burpees. Now try something different."
Yeah, they had that down at there was a big CrossFit style event down in Miami called Wadapalooza or something.
Yep, I've heard of it.
And Tough Mudder had an obstacle there, which was a
Tough
glorified.
Mudder were at Wadapalooza? I have a feeling Spartan helped start that.
that's interesting. They had a just like a weird single obstacle there that they were having. It was like a round monkey bars, so you can like infinite monkey bars. You can just keep going. So they were challenging people to do that, and I think that sign was posted at Wadapalooza. So that's a
interesting,
cute little jab. So Sandy, what are your predictions?
My predictions are I'm going to get you to Polar Bear or to Shale Hill. I'll go with that. I think that the days of not so muddy, Tough Mudder, World's Toughest Mudder are over, because this year it's going to Atlanta, which is going to be probably actually colder than Vegas, and definitely muddier, because I do have to say that I very much enjoyed not being super muddy at World's Toughest. As far as race series go, I don't really have my finger on the pulse of much of anything. I would like to say that I do think that Savage Race is going to be successful with what they're working on, and is going to enjoy some success being able to branch out a little bit to maybe get the husbands and wives of those serious competitors to come out, and the ones who want to have more fun and do something a bit smaller, shall I say. So I think that's going to be successful.
Yeah, I think they're poised to take off, and I think it's a good time for them, because, Spartan has been around for now. This is their 8th year, and people are kind of looking for other things to do, and it's not, Spartan's got new distances. They got the Ultra, whatever it is, not necessarily Ultra Beast now. So people are branching out one way or another, and I think it's just kind of the natural progression of the sport and what we do, and everybody wants to try new things. I want to go try some new venues. I mean, I've seen all these venues over and over. Like when I was in New Jersey last year, I was like, I remember that tree, and at that point, it's officially time. That's
why I stopped going to New Jersey back in 2015, whatever the last Super was.
Yep,
we're doing the same course, but backwards, huh?
So, for me, my predictions, I don't know. I actually want to go the other way. Instead of who's going to be the most successful, what race is going to collapse this year, you think? Who's going to go under?
Oh,
I don't see any warning signs right off the bat for any of them at the moment.
The only ones I can think of that are like tiny town, like you got Terrain Race, who's kind of small. You've got Conquer the Gauntlet, which is kind of small, but
they're designed to be small.
Yeah, they don't really come around here enough for me to have any connection to them really anyway. I don't know.
No, that's a really good... I'm not going to throw names out, because I think what's going to happen this year, we're going to see some race directors who've put blood, sweat, and tears into local races, whether that's New England local or other regions. They've sacrificed family time and all that stuff to put on these races, and they still can't break that 1,000, 1,500 person barrier. They're stuck at that level because everyone wants to go to Spartan, everyone wants to go to Tough Mudder. I think we're going to see some of the local guys here or other regions just throw the towel in. Just say, enough's enough. I'm going to, quit bust in 4 months of the year working on this one race, and I'm going to go off and, see my family or get another hobby or whatever. Because I think a lot of people, I mean, looking locally, right? You look at people like Fred, you look at people like Rob, the amount of time they put into these events, and they're growing sometimes, but then they just get stuck. And it's no fault of their own. They put on a good event, they put on a good show, the races are good. It's the same crowd come out all the time, but the same crowd who are getting bored of Spartan after 4 or 5 years is going to get bored of a local race after 4 or 5 years as well. And I think we're going to start seeing some of those guys just say, enough's enough. It's not providing me the return I need to be able to keep doing it. No one's doing this for love, let's be honest. These race directors, they have a passion for being organizers, for putting on events, for entertaining people, but they're not putting on an obstacle course race because they love obstacle course racing so much. They could go on and put on a nightclub gig or whatever, something else.
And so I'm going to I know you guys don't do athlete predictions or anything, so I'll make them for you. I'm going to say Ryan Atkins is going to do 120 miles at Atlanta World's Toughest Mudder because he did 110 the last 2 years.
Even though it's muddier?
Even though it's muddier.
With the mud, it'll be interesting to see.
But I bet World's Toughest Mudder gets a little more friendly. Like, you know how they do staggered obstacle openings? Maybe they not make it easier, but make it easier to bypass some obstacles. So we'll see. And then World Championships, first time in London. There's no way John Albin does not win that for the third time in a row again on his home turf.
Yeah.
And poor Ryan Atkins, I love him to death, but there's no way he doesn't come in second for the third year in a row. Always the bridesmaid.
You know, I think you're right there. Although hasn't Jonathan Albin got some local guys over there who are powerhouses who either haven't traveled well or, you know, aren't necessarily experienced in the Canadian terrain, but do pretty good? Do you think those are going to give them a run for their money on local ground? Because UK races are a different beast to what we're used to. Especially nuclear race. It's muddy.
Yeah, and that's it. You're not dealing with hills. And talk about Atkins and Albin. That's what they do better than anybody else. And that right there is 80% of the race if you can do that well. So I don't know. Maybe we see a Swedish or Norwegian or German no-namer, at least to us in the U.S.
Yep.
We learn about some new incredible athlete.
If you're listening to this, leave a comment. What do you think's going to happen in 2018 and at OCR Worlds in 2018? It's going to be interesting. I reckon Ryan takes North America champs because that's it. Again, his wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, for God's sakes, the guy bought a house in the Adirondacks. Probably.
Oh, he did?
Half of that. Yeah, probably half of that was.
I didn't know
I
that.
guess I can train right near where Stratton's going to be, so. Yep.
I didn't realize that. That's funny. All right. Do we have anything else for this one?
No, stay tuned for the after if we do a show after Blizzard Blast or after Polar Bear, or, you know, if we wait and do both at the same time. And it's not too late to sign up for either one, unless you're hearing this after they're already over. So
then it is too late.
Then it is.
And
also, my last prediction, we're definitely going to get MeUndies as a sponsor of the show by the end of the year.
Boom.
What exactly would they be sponsoring is my
It doesn't matter, Sandy. It doesn't matter. I just want free underwear.
We'd be contractually obliged to wear MeUndies during the show.
Josh just wants to be able to talk about his underwear more often.
That's fine. It's great content.
Great content.
Good night, guys.
Have a good night.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
As always, guys, thanks so much for checking out the show. We'd love to hear what you think, so give us some feedback. Submit a question, share a story from one of your recent races or events. I think the show gets better and better with your participation, and it's not just Paul, Sandy, and myself talking. So to reach out, ask questions, suggest a topic, whatever it may be, follow along on Facebook. We've got a dedicated Any Spartans show page, or you can join the community at Any Spartans on Facebook as well. Twitter's your thing. Shoot us a tweet at Any Spartans. And if you want to find our full library of episodes, I'd recommend either iTunes or Stitcher. So again, for Paul, Sandy, myself, thanks so much for listening, and until next time.